And welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. I hope all of you are having an awesome weekend so far. Students, in this lesson we are looking at IELTS Speaking Part 2, and the topic we'll be talking about a body of water that's important for your country's economy. Welcome Anna, hi Fuang, nice to see members joining in. Everybody, this is a members chat class, of course. You're all welcome to watch. In about 2 hours we will have an all chat class for Speaking Part 3 that will be a continuation of this topic, talking about trade routes, different ways that cargo and shipment travel across countries and the world. Everybody, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. For academic IELTS, please visit us there. For general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. These are the websites that power these live classes. They contain all of our materials, our practice exams. We use these websites regularly in these live lessons. So if you're enjoying these classes, make sure to join the premium package by clicking this big red button at aehelp.com. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access, and you will have all the materials needed to prepare you for the IELTS exam, practice exams, videos, lots more. We're an IDP affiliate. We're a British Council partner. We're an IELTS test registration center. I'm a British Council agent. You're in excellent hands with us. Students, when you click that Join Now button, you can use the code PUBLIC9. This is from our most recent video, which explains how public speaking and IELTS speaking are very similar. So use the code PUBLIC9 and you will get a 10% kickback from the price of the premium package. For general IELTS students, it's the green background. It's gieltshelp.com. Again, just click that big red button. It is a one-time payment and you have lifetime access. No need to worry about a subscription. Welcome Romelia. Hi Mol. Nice to see more students joining in now. That's great. Okay, everybody, so we do have apps for you that you can download from your app stores, linked to the websites. It's Academic IELTS Help for the academic and General IELTS Help for the general version. Instagram is IELTS_AE Help and GIELTS Help. Check us out there for upcoming live class schedules, reels with vocabulary. And of course, on the websites, we have lots and lots of content for you that you can check out. Here's another speaking script for you to take a look at when you have a moment. I just put the URL there into the chat. It's from our blog. It's a script focusing on a place that you avoid going to. So another topic on a place. The focus today, of course, is places, locations. You can get the premium version through Shopify, through YouTube, by clicking shopping. If you do that, make sure to send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com, so I can activate your premium account, or admin@aehelp.com. Students, we have Speaking Part 2 right now, as I mentioned, and we have Speaking Part 3 after. On Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we have no classes coming up, and then on Wednesday we'll do a reading class for everyone, starting a little bit later at the same time as the Part 3 speaking class today at 3 o'clock, or a little bit earlier than the speaking class today, but at 3 o'clock Universal Time. And then on the 7th we'll have more speaking, on the 8th we'll have reading listening, and then on the 9th we'll have more speaking classes. So lots for you to learn. We did cover writing task 1 and task 2 this week. If you missed it, check it out on the channel. Students, this video is quite important for IELTS students. It's a video that we released recently where we talked to an expert in public speaking, and we explained the similarities between speaking in the IELTS exam and doing public speaking, meaning speaking in front of an audience. There are certainly a lot of parallels between the IELTS speaking and speaking in front of an audience, doing a presentation, maybe for a class project or a speech during some holiday. Excuse me. So part 2 of speaking is especially akin to public speaking because it's a presentation. The only real difference is that you're presenting to one person instead of 10, 20, 30 or more people. Otherwise, you really do have to recognize the similarities. For instance, most people, when they speak in front of an audience, they're quite nervous. And when they speak in the IELTS exam, they're quite nervous. The audience is often a group of strangers that the presenter doesn't know. In the IELTS exam, the examiner is a stranger whom you don't know. So there are lots of similarities. Part 2 speaking in the IELTS exam has a clear goal. You have a topic question. In this case, the question is talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy. This is the question that we will look at in this class. And again, this is very, very similar to a presentation or speaking to a group of people where you have a clear goal and you're talking on a specific topic or for a specific purpose. So when we understand public speaking, we also gain a lot of insight and value into how to speak well for your IELTS test. And that's why I said you should check out that video that we have where we talk with a person who is a professor, a lecturer of public speaking, and his explanation on what is required for good public speaking. Okay. All right, everybody. So in the IELTS exam, when you're finished part 1, which takes about 5 minutes, so as many of you know, the speaking section is a 12 to 15 minute interview, and you finish part 1, the examiner will say that is the end of part 1. We will now continue with part 2. For this part, I will show you some questions. You will have 1 minute to read these. Think about your answers, and then you will have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. I will tell you when to start and when to stop. Again, kind of similar to public speaking. In public speaking, you usually also have a time limit. You don't just stand there all day talking, or you don't just talk for 5 minutes and then run away. Generally, there is a time limit. So here, the similarity, of course, in a big way, is content and structure. So when you're doing a public speech, obviously you prepare. You structure the information, you have an introduction, you have explanations, you have examples, and you do that within a time limit so you know how much detail you can give and how much you can say. Now, in IELTS, in part 2, it's actually a little bit more challenging in the sense that you don't have a lot of time to prepare. What I mean by that is you don't really know the question. Some people try to predict it or guess it, but it's really not possible. There are just too many questions that you can get asked in the IELTS exam. So in this way, IELTS speaking part 2 is actually more challenging than a presentation in a classroom or at some other place in a meeting or in a boardroom. Because for those meetings, you actually have time to prepare, to rehearse your speech. In the IELTS, you really don't, except that you do know that the IELTS Part 2 cue card will probably be on one of those categories that we keep mentioning. So you're either talking about a person, a place, an object, an event, or an idea. And for that, you can prepare. So as I've said often before, it's really important to practice each one of these categories. So when you're getting ready for the IELTS exam, you want to make sure that you practice cue cards which focus on talking about a person, like your best friend, talking about a place, like in this case, talking about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that's important for your country. Talking about an object like a gift that you had received, an event So like a fun party that you went to, or an idea, like an idea to improve the quality of your life. Okay, so you want to practice talking about each of these, and that will give you the ability to structure information faster and better when you get this kind of surprise set of questions. Okay. Romelia is asking, can you try at least once to do the practice in exam conditions? I mean, without knowing the question beforehand. Romelia, that's a great question, and you should actually be practicing that regularly before you sit the official exam. So in this class, for learning purposes, it is better to give you a bit of a chance to review and to know what's coming up. For those of you who want to kind of practice it in a real situation, what I recommend doing is just holding off and joining the class once we start the practice session, and then kind of letting it be a surprise. Okay, so the examiner says, talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy. Now, of course, quick and clever, many of you who have studied the materials on the website, who understand that you're talking about a place here. You know that when talking about a place, you have to describe its appearance. So what is it? So if you're talking about the Nile River, you need to explain that it is the longest river in the world. It's 6,000 kilometers long. It crosses 10 different countries and enables for boats of various sizes to transport cargo to these nations along various trade routes. Okay, so you describe the appearance of the place. Always, you should always give it a visual context, okay? With a place, with a person, with an object, that's quite important. And it should be done early. It should be done somewhere at the beginning of your speech, because once your audience, in this case the examiner, can see the place, it just makes a lot more sense. So if you tell them that the Nile River spans anywhere from 50 to 500 meters at its narrowest and widest parts, then it gives a visual size to that river, and that helps the examiner to understand how it can be used for tourism or for cargo ships to improve a country's economy. Okay, so the appearance is very important. Now, you might not talk about the appearance all that much at the beginning, and you might include further details as you discuss, but you definitely want to have a picture of the place that you're talking about. Once you talked about the appearance, then it's good to indicate the attendees. By attendees, we mean like the people who are there, who go to this place. So if we're talking about a river, you're going to talk about maybe cruise ships, maybe cargo ships, tourists, businessmen. So whatever that body of water is used for, think about who are the people that are using it. Okay, so who are the attendees of that place, right? In some cases, you might talk about the history. And in this case, the question actually asks you about it. Like, what's the history? What was it used for in the past, right? The Nile was one of the, or is one of the oldest trade routes in the world. It was used by Egyptians and Romans thousands of years ago to transport their cargoes to different villages and towns to build the prosperity of their empires, right? So you might want to give a little bit of that history, that background to that place. All right, you have to figure out, is it important in this situation? When you see a question dealing with that, like in this case in the cue card, it says, how was it used in ancient times? That should be a very clear sign that the historical aspect is important. Okay. And when you kind of hear that advice, you see it on British Council's website too, like, oh, the questions are there to guide you. You don't need to answer all the questions. It's kind of a confusing piece of advice. You should answer all the questions, and when they mean they're there to guide you, it basically means that when it says how was it used in ancient times, they're kind of looking for the history of the place, right? Like talk about the history. That's the guide part of the question, right? And then the activities. So what happens there, right? What happens these days? Do people fish there? Do they catch food? Do they export food? Export electronics, right? So what's the activity? What's the human action that takes place at that body of water? So think about that, and you're kind of going in this sequence. So this is your order. This is why you're able to talk about it well in that 1 to 2 minutes, is because you're thinking about these and you're taking notes on these, okay? And then, of course, include the experience. And what we mean by that is the personal experience. So if you live there, maybe you can say, my grandfather used to fish the Nile River, and that was an important part of not only the country's economy, because he would sell the fish at local markets like tens of thousands of other fishermen, but it was also important for sustenance, so for feeding the family, which of course again helped the economy of the country, whereby many families in Egypt were able to subsidize their income and eat healthy by eating fish. However, nowadays the Nile is quite polluted. It's no longer used for fishing. These days it's much more important for the trade of manufactured goods. Okay, so again, notice all that language that's coming out, and it's just simply, I didn't live in Egypt and I don't know too much about the Nile, but I can imagine these basic facts to be relatively true when it comes to talking about the legendary Nile River. Okay, so you talk about the appearance, the attendees, the history, the activity, and the experience. And when you know that you need to include these, talking about a place, then you can present the information relatively well to the examiner. And it doesn't matter if it's just one person, one examiner, or if it's a group of people, it's 10 people that you're talking to and you're explaining to them the importance of the Nile River for economic purposes for the country of Egypt, right? Now, of course, you should read the questions carefully, like what is this body of water? How was it used in ancient times? How is it used today? Clearly, you're going to be using some past tense, some present perfect tense. And then, why is it important for your country's welfare? Okay, so I'm giving you the example of the Nile River, right? So here, when the examiner says, okay, your preparation time is up, please begin speaking, then you can say, well, for my country, Egypt, one of the most important bodies of water for the economy over the past 6,000 years has been the legendary Nile River. As many know, this is one of the greatest rivers in the world. In fact, it is the longest, stretching more than 5,000 kilometers across 20 different countries. Now, if it's 25, 30, 15, it doesn't matter as long as it's some believable number. So 20 different countries, which makes it an exceptional thoroughfare for trade and commerce. Okay? So all of that lovely language coming into it. And of course, I'm visualizing this as I'm going along. Okay? And it says the river Dnipro is the biggest river in the Ukraine? Okay, all right. And Anna, again, you could talk about a river. It could be about a lake or an ocean here as well. Now, I'm talking to you about the Nile River, and hopefully you are visualizing this. The Nile River is also very, very important, other than carrying boats and carrying cargo, when it comes to talking about the economy. And this is a little bit of a pop quiz. It's a little bit of a test to see how well you're visualizing and how well you're seeing the information. Aside from the river as a thoroughfare, as a transportation route, how else does it impact the country's economy? So think about Egypt here historically, and there should be, again, another clear image, even if we don't live there. Okay, so what do you think? And for all of you joining in right now, just keep in mind that a lot of these tips and strategies are coming from our Premium IELTS course here on the website. You can click this big red button that's just above my head there. The website is aehelp.com. And when you join the premium package, then you get your My Student account access. And there in the full online course, you have various speaking sections. And you have a very clear explanation of what you need to do for describing people, places. So in this case, it's describing a person, how you need to do that. And then you have examples as well. Okay. So make sure to go through the course, cover all of these, cover all the examples, and get ready for any question that comes up on the IELTS exam. Okay. All right, so I'm not seeing any answers yet to my question, and I am hoping Fuang and Mal and Anna, Romelia, to see some answers there. So what is another way that the Nile has had a major impact, both on Egypt's economy, but also setting a standard for world economy and prosperity? And this should definitely come to mind. I mean, if you're talking about the Nile and I'm your examiner and you forget this point and you stop in under 2 minutes, I would kind of be like, well, I'm kind of pushed to take away half a band, because if you stop in less than 2 minutes and you don't mention this kind of a point, in my mind, it's not a fully complete answer. So many of you are saying tourism. Some of you are saying fishing. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip here. And again, this is the visualization. Anybody know the definition of a delta? Okay. The delta is a geographic feature. So it's a feature that we see on maps. They're very important for humans. Okay. And you're about to learn very quickly why. So what is a delta? What does that actually mean? Somebody give me the definition, and try to do it without Googling if you can. Think about a river. Obviously, it's strongly connected to the concept of the river here. There's a nice expression to explain or to describe what a delta actually is. Romelia says we have the Danube Delta here in Romania. Yes, you do. Aha! Mal says, I think you mean. And Mal, it's not just I think you mean, but it's what it is, right? It's I think what history means. Yeah. So, absolutely. The delta is known as the mouth of the river. Okay? So it's where the river joins with another large body of water, like the Red Sea or the Mediterranean. Okay, often an ocean or a sea, especially for the larger rivers. So the delta is where the river joins, and of course, so I'm teaching you a little bit of vocabulary here in this class. So instead of doing the traditional method of going through all the steps of part 2 in this class, members, as you're seeing, I'm taking a little bit of a different approach, and I'm focusing a bit more on vocabulary. as well. So here, let's see if you can fill in the blanks for me. So the river carries something rich, something to the mouth of the river, the delta, where many different something are grown to feed millions of people. Therefore, the Nile has been a key source of food and hence economy for something. And this last one should equal thousands of years. Okay, so let's see if you can fill in some blanks for me here. So the river carries mineral rich. Very nice. Miles says it's got to be mineral. You're right. Mineral or nutrient rich would both work here. Okay, nutrient, mineral, both are okay. They're kind of the same idea. So nutrients are basically the plant food, right? Minerals are the plant food. They're what the plants like to eat to grow. Mineral rich. The river carries mineral-rich something to the mouth of the river. What is this word here? And then the delta, where many different something. Mal says that one's got to be crops. Very good, Mal. You are good at this game. Crops are grown, feed millions of people. Absolutely. Therefore, the Nile has been a key source of food and hence economy for something. Okay, let me help you with this one. It's maybe a little bit tricky. Starts with an S, S-E-D. And there are 5 more letters. You're on the right idea, Mal, but that's not the correct word. Okay. Well, this is just a little bit of a fun game. It's not seaweed, Romelia. So the river carries nutrient-rich something to the mouth of the river delta, where many different crops are grown that feed millions of people. Yes, the last one, you figured it out. Mal, very good. The last one here is millennia. Okay, that's right, Anne. Very nice. And coming into the class strong, right? Good for you, Anne. You get a big thumbs up from me today. Absolutely, coming into the class strong. The word is sediment. Okay, so sediment is basically sand, mud that is taken from hills, mountains, as the river flows and pulls with it the soil and the sand and collects those rich nutrients and deposits them, entering into the ocean. So sediment, the nutrient rich sand and soil that is carried by rivers towards oceans. Absolutely. That's your sediment. Very nice. And good for you. Okay, so this kind of sentence is definitely what you're aiming for when you're sitting the IELTS exam, okay? So we've got some nice expanse there, okay? So again, this is what we have so far, and just practice with me. This is speaking part 2. For everybody who's joining in, here's a quick glance at the question again. So IELTS speaking part 2, talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy. What is this body of water? How was it used in ancient times? How is it used today? Why is it important for your country's welfare? Well, for my country, Egypt, one of the most important bodies of water for the economy over the past 6,000 years has been the legendary Nile River. As many know, this is one of the greatest rivers in the world. In fact, it is the longest, stretching more than 5 kilometers across 20 different countries on the continent of Africa, which makes it an exceptional thoroughfare for trade and commerce. Fishermen and merchants have used the river since time immemorial for carrying their precious products to towns and villages across the great continent. Okay? So immemorial means like an infinite amount of time, a great amount of time. The river carries nutrient-rich sediment to the mouth of the river, the delta, where many different crops are grown that feed millions of people. Indeed, Egypt would not be able to farm and be the culture that it is today without the rich agricultural land provided by the Nile. Millions of tons of corn, rice, and other staple foods are farmed along the banks of the river. Okay? Therefore, the Nile has been a key source of food and hence the economy for millennia. Okay? So there's an idea of the response that you should be producing for this question. Now, as you can see, I'm talking about the Nile in Egypt. I'm not talking about the Fraser River in Canada. The Fraser River is an incredible river close to where I live, flowing from the Rocky Mountains into the Pacific Ocean. And I could talk about that even easier and even more fluently and with greater detail because, of course, I know a lot about it. But here, I'm just giving you an example of another river, the Nile River, to show that as long as you know what you want to say and what you need to say, you can talk in good detail about various different answers, in this case the Nile. Why? Not because I'm an expert on the Nile. In fact, I would say I'm not an expert on the Nile, but it's simply because of that structure, right? So understanding that I need to talk about its appearance, I need to talk about the people who use it, I need to talk about the history, the activities, and the experience of that location, right? So I'm just following that context, okay? All right? Romelia says, and it's famous, so the examiners will relate to it. It'll be easy to understand. Absolutely, Romelia. It is a good idea to pick a body of water, especially because there are so many bodies of water that are famous, that people know a lot about, right? So the oceans, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean. What does anybody know what one of the most used trade routes are for transcontinental? Which ocean? Okay. Anybody know? It's the Arctic Ocean. All right, so students, that's how we do it. Now, before we get into volunteering, so I'm going to ask our members and our viewers who are watching right now to volunteer and practice this speaking part 2 card with me. We're going to do that with Zoom. And I have started the Zoom session for today, so I'm going to share the link with everybody. Here is the link for downloading Zoom if you don't have it. If you already have Zoom, that's great. I'm sure many of you do. Very popular piece of software. Then here is the Zoom class, and I'll slowly start letting people in. I'll keep everybody muted for right now. What I'm wondering about is the body of water that you'd like to discuss. Okay, so give me some ideas. I'm curious which body of water James would like to talk about, which body of water Romelia would like to talk about. And I can see that people are starting to join in, so I'll start letting people in. I just want to get an idea of what topics you think are a good choice for this question, this cue card question. Okay. Domenico says, I could talk about the River Po, which is crucial for the Italian economy. Okay. Or the Mediterranean Sea, which is a hub for EU's economy. Domenico, I would probably talk about the Mediterranean Sea and the real IELTS just because I think it's easier and there's more content there. Okay. But Anna would prefer that for curiosity's sake, you talk about the River Po, which is interesting. Okay. I'll keep letting people in. What other rivers? So, James, what would you like to talk about? Anne, what would you talk about? Romelia, is it the Danube? What would you talk about, Adele? So, what are these bodies of water? And as Romelia mentioned, it is good to pick one that might be familiar for the examiner, so it's a little bit easier to understand. Okay. All right. So while you're thinking about that, let's get into some volunteering. So the way the volunteering is going to work is I will get you to raise your hand in Zoom. There are already 12 people joined in, which is great. And in Zoom, you have these reactions at the bottom. Okay, so let me show you that. I can't see it yet. Let me just show you what I mean. Okay. All right. So when you have Zoom, you've got these reactions in the bottom. And if you'd like to give this part 2 cue card a shot, then you can click on that, and then you can click on raise hand. And as soon as you do that, you will see this little raised hand appearing next to the name, and then I can ask to unmute yourself and you can answer the cue card. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, and we'll listen to some part 2s. I'll give you feedback, I'll let you know what your band score is, and then we'll go from there. Okay, all right, we'll admit Amira, Maruf, Nora Safa, and Romelia as well. Okay, we haven't heard from Fuang in a bit. She's a regular student and a member. So let's give Fuang a chance. Fuang has this cute looking avatar with the interesting cat and eyebrows. Okay. Fuang, can you unmute yourself? Cat and eyebrows. Okay. Fuang, can you unmute yourself? Hi, Fuang. Cat and eyebrows. Okay. Fuang, can you hear me okay?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You should be able to hear me now as well. I just unmuted my mic. And we've got the single audio. How are you doing, Fuang?
I'm doing great, sir. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I am also doing quite well. Thank you for asking. I had a good night's sleep and I'm full of energy. All right. Fuang, so you're into cats, I can tell.
Yeah.
Who isn't? That's on the internet, right? We have all watched at least a couple cat videos, and if somebody says they haven't, they're not telling the truth. All right.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir?
Just a sec. I have to mute everybody else here. Okay, Fuang, can you unmute yourself again? Let me just... everybody, please let one person only. Otherwise, it disrupts the other people. Just a sec, Fuang. I'm going to get you to unmute yourself here as well. Okay. All right, Fuang, can you unmute yourself one more time, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Yeah, somebody else was just talking into our conversation, so I had to kind of do something there. All right, Fuang. So can you tell everybody where you are first, so that will give us context of the body of water for this part 2 cue card.
Maybe I will talk about the east of Vietnam, sir, which is located in the from the northeast to the south of Vietnam.
Okay. What is the river called?
It's called the East Sea, sir.
Can you spell it for me?
EAST, or we can refer it as the South China Sea.
Okay, so South China Sea. All right. Okay, then I will start you off. Give me your response and I'll give you some feedback. Are you ready, Fuang?
I'm a little bit ready, sir.
You're a little bit ready. Okay. All right. That works. That's about all you, by the way, Fuang, that's all you are in the real IELTS. You can only be a little bit ready because you only have 1 minute from the time you see the questions, right? So you can't be very ready. You can only be a little bit ready in the real test. Okay, here we go. So let's continue with part 2. Talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
In my country, Vietnam, the East Sea, also referred to as the South China Sea, is not only the most important for Vietnam economy, but also the blood vessel life of the Asia-Pacific regions and the world. With an area of approximately 3.5 million square kilometers, ranging from the northeast to the southeast of Vietnam, that makes the East Sea become one of the largest seas in the world. Additionally, the East Sea is known as the unique location itself, which connects the Indian Ocean with the Pacific Ocean and Europe, Asia, Middle East Asia, so that not only support the commercial relation among Vietnam and Asian countries, but also boost up the global maritime trade. Because of the center of the East Sea, which is favorable for the placement of information and potential fossil fuel like gas and oil. Thousands of years ago, Vietnam East Sea were attacked by China, and more than 1 century ago, Vietnam East Sea were exploited by both the U.S. and French during the World War I and II. Um, However, nowadays Vietnam continues to actively build partnership and strengthen defense cooperation with like-minded countries, both outside and inside, to promote three categories like physiography, geography,
Okay.
economy.
Your 2 minutes is up. I'm going to stop you there. And we will now go on to part 3. For this part, I will ask you some questions related to the topic of part 2. Okay, Fuang, so first of all, your response was about a band 8, I would say. If somebody is a real stickler about pronunciation, they might say 7.5. But definitely your content was 8. In all honesty, Fuang, it kind of sounded like you were reading Wikipedia on the South China Sea. So if you were able to do that with little preparation, that is fantastic. Okay, that's a really, really good answer. It's almost too technical. It's strange to say this, but it's almost too technical. Like it's literally like you're reading an encyclopedia or you're reading Wikipedia or something like that. So you did a really good job describing what it looks like, what countries it connects, what kind of cargo is carried across the sea, a bit about its history as well. If I were you, and this is just a subjective opinion because I think the content is very good, but if I were you, I would probably give it a personal touch. I think that could help to boost your score. It's just kind of a strange advice to give, but I do think that it could help. So have you ever been to the South China Sea? And if yes, have you experienced the economy of the South China Sea, or the as you mentioned cleverly at the beginning, the EC? So have you experienced its economy in some ways, Fuang?
Mm, well, sir, the east is ranging from the northeast to the southeast of Vietnam, so there's a lot of beaches, and I have been to Vũng Tàu Beach, which is the most popular location for the economies export and import goods from a foreign country to Vietnam, sir. And I think it's the economy is evolving significantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you could include to make it more personal, and IELTS examiners do like it, especially in part one and part two, when you have a personal touch to your answers. It really makes them feel like your answer is genuine, it's original, you thought about it there and not just practiced it before. So I would include a sentence like this in this response. So all of the content that you said, Fuang, was really good. I would include a sentence like, I have experienced the economy of the EC firsthand when I visited a touristy beach and saw thousands of visitors to the country enjoying the amenities, the restaurants, and tourist attractions. Okay. So can you try that sentence for me, Fuang? Can you just repeat this after me? I have experienced the economy of the EC firsthand when I visited a touristy beach and saw thousands of visitors enjoying all the amenities and spending probably millions of dollars.
Okay, sir. I have experienced the economy of the EC. When I visited a touristy beach and saw thousands of visitors to the country enjoying the amenities, the restaurant, and tourist attractions,
And spending millions of dollars.
and spending millions of dollars.
Okay. So that kind of a sentence almost guarantees for you that you're going to get a better score, right? Because you're putting that personal touch on the response. Okay. All right.
Okay, sir.
Makes sense. So you're doing a great job. I'm always just giving extra advice to kind of refine and improve the way that you approach this. And you know how I said that the IELTS speaking, especially part two, it's kind of like public speaking, right?
Yes, sir.
The one interesting difference, when you're public speaking, you're speaking to a group of people, obviously. In the IELTS, you're speaking one-on-one. It's one examiner and you, right? So it's a very kind of intimate conversation. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you're in an intimate type of conversation, I'm sure you'll agree with me, like when you're talking to somebody like me right now, one-on-one, right? You want to kind of feel their personality because you feel that it's just you and that other person. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the IELTS examiner is kind of the same. They see a lot of candidates. So when they have you come in there and they're like, oh, this person's speaking really good English, I would love to feel a bit of their personality in this communication or in this conversation. So it's definitely a positive for the overall outcome. That kind of makes sense, right?
Like we must attach our own experience to our speaking, sir.
Yeah, so especially in part 1 and part 2, it's a good idea because it gives it that personal touch. That's the expression that we use in English. It's your personal touch, right? It makes it more real. It makes it more you. And that can definitely help your score, okay?
Okay, sorry,
All right. Okay, Fuang, thank you for helping me explain that point and for talking about the EC. That was really good. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
Have a great rest of your weekend, sir. Bye, sir.
Okay, bye, Fuang. All right, that was Fuang, everybody. Let's give her a thumbs up. I'll give her a thumbs up in my with my emoji there. You can see my thumbs up. That was fantastic. Good work, Fuang. Okay, let's see who else we have. Do we have anybody else from our members? Domenico, Anna, Anne, Romelia. Anybody got their hands up? Let's see. Mal, I see you there. I don't see a hands up though. If you want to try, Romelia, I see you in there too. So if you want to try, this is a members chat class, so you do have a little bit of an advantage or privilege. Let me just admit Miriam, Samsung S21, and Mahmoud. All right. Okay. Let's give Somiparno a chance here. Who's at the bottom? SC. I think you've got two you've got two personas in here.
Yes, Adrian. I actually made it more easier to refer to me. So
I know.
Last time we talked, you were kind of having some problems with pronunciation, and I understand it totally.
I get it. Okay. All right. So Somiparno, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right, then let's tackle this part 2 cue card. Just to give context for everybody watching, can you tell everybody what country you're in and what city you're in?
Yes, I am from India, from the city of Kolkata in West Bengal.
Okay, that definitely gives us context because India has lots of important bodies of water. It's a big country. So I'm curious which one you will choose in your part of the world. Are you ready for this part 2?
Absolutely.
Okay, here we go. Talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
I would like to talk about the Ganges River, which is also popularly known as the Ganga in India. This river has been a lifeline for Indians since the dawn of civilization in India. It originates from the Gangotri Glacier and in Uttarakhand and flows through the north eastern part of the country through the states of UP, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and West Bengal. Then after it divides into two tributaries. One flows through Bangladesh as Padma, and the other empties into the Bay of Bengal as Hooghly. This river has been used since ancient times as a great source of very highly fertile soil. And since India is an agrarian nation, so this fertile soil has been very helpful in improving India's economy, and also it houses several species of plants and animals. And also this river has had a religious and mythological significance, and a lot of people bathe in the river to pay homage to their ancestors. And it is important for our country's welfare because, as I mentioned, due to the fertile soil, and this fertile sediment powers a lot of rice paddies and wheat plantations that help in the agrarian economy of the nation. Also, a lot of species have made their home in the river, including some critically endangered species like the gavial crocodile and the Ganges river dolphin.
Okay, your time is up. I'm going to stop you there. And we'll continue with part 3. For this part, I will ask you some more questions related to this topic. Okay, so as far as band scores, again, I would give you, so very similar to Phuong here, okay? So I would give you like a 7.5 to 8. And again, it just... I hope you guys aren't doing that. I hope you're not reading Wikipedia pages for me.
No. I actually read prior to that, but not now.
No, and I do know that, of course, a lot of us, we would be happy to get this topic because important bodies of water, most of us definitely learn about in school and in our lives, and we see them, so we're familiar with them, right? And with this kind of a question, it's interesting because in the IELTS, with speaking part 2, there's often kind of 2 situations that develop. One where the speaker kind of gets stuck, they're repeating themselves, they don't know what to say. And then the other situation that sometimes develops in part 2 is people have too much to say. They're like, oh, talk about the Ganges. I can talk to you about the Ganges for an hour if you want, right? Without repeating myself. And I bet you could. I bet you could talk to me about the different empires and the way that they use the Ganges and the different types of boats through history that have been on the Ganges River, etc. The pollution that has happened that has cost the country, the cleanup efforts that are helping to restore the economy. So I'm sure you could talk literally for like an hour about the Ganges. So in this case, what you need to do is you have to limit yourself, okay? So in part 2 of the IELTS, it's like you're packaging the information. And the better the package, the better your score. So your vocabulary, I think, was like a band 9, no question about it. You had some really good expressions, really good use of high-level words. So you said that the river has been a lifeline for Indians since the dawn of civilization. I mean, that's literally what you would hear in a movie talking about the Ganges River in English.
Thank you.
So the contributaries to the river, the estuaries to the river. So you use some extremely good vocabulary without question. Highly fertile soil, very clear, expressive phrasing. Okay. There's one issue with your response. What do you think it is? What do you think my main... So as Domenico introduced this word for everybody, nitpicky. So I'm also a nitpicky person, and examiners, professors, they're nitpicky, especially when we want to give perfect scores. What do you think that is? What am I going to pick at in your response? What am I going to say where I'd say, I'd like to, I'd like that to be different? What do you think?
I probably repeated some phrases and I should have rephrased that.
No, not really. No repetition. I think you actually moved through the content really well.
Filler words, I guess, but...
No. And the different... So when you're up in these high band scores, like band 8 to band 9, it's usually this. So it's usually for that last band score to get that expert level. It's usually this that's blocking or stopping the candidate from achieving that quote unquote perfect score. It's content. It's what you're saying. Okay. So how you were saying it was outstanding. I would say expert level, the way that you were saying it. But it's just what you were saying. What's the primary focus of this question, Somiparno?
To describe about the water body and basically how was it used in ancient times.
No, look at the it's always the very, very first statement. Talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy, right?
Okay. I think I forgot to mention the river. I should have introduced the river more and
the economy more.
The what?
You should have talked about the economic aspect of it more. So when you're talking about, the agriculture or the religion, that should all tie back to the economy, the economic impact of the river. Now, if we're talking about India and if we're talking about economy, what should come to mind? Agriculture, and ultimately what? When we talk about economy, we're talking about, in a big sense, we're talking about what? The products and the commerce and the money, right?
Right.
So
Right.
when you get a question like this and you see a word like economy in the header question, you should immediately be thinking of, okay, this question is basically asking me, like, talk about a body of water that generates, requires, is used for exchanging millions, billions of Indian rupees, right?
Right.
So ideally, you're including little pieces like that. So you could say something like, I imagine that with the Ganges, at least 1 trillion Indian rupees change hands between people locally within India and also internationally, right? So it's that kind of more of a focus on the economy that I think would push you towards a higher band score. So really that content, like as soon as you started talking about endangered species of animals and about religious purposes of the Ganges, I was kind of like, well, okay, I can see it a little bit, but we're starting to go off topic here from what this cue card is asking, right?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So really don't get lost on the answers so much that you forget what the question is really focusing on. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. All right. Otherwise, it was fantastic. So what I would do if I were you is after this class or at some point in the day or on the weekend, sit down, try to give another 1 to 2 minute speech about the Ganges, but do it in such a way that it's clear that that speech is focusing on the economic impact of the Ganges for India. Got it?
Got it. I actually wanted to add a point about tourism in the Ganges, but I don't know why I forgot about that.
Yeah, so again, even when you're, so tourism, perfect. And even when you're going there, really emphasize the economy. So if you're saying, for example, like I read an article that over 1 million people from around the world visit every 10-kilometer section of the Ganges annually, bringing in over 100 million Indian rupees per week, right? So you want to include those numbers, right? Even if they're kind of just made up or approximated, okay?
Right.
All right. But otherwise, it was really good. So that's all you want to focus on, okay, Samiparno?
Got it.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I didn't catch, sorry, just before you go, you said that internationally it's commonly known as the Ganges River, but in India, another common name. Can you just tell me that a little bit slowly with emphasis? I couldn't catch it, and I was really curious what it is. So what is the Ganges River called locally?
Ganga.
Ganga. It's the Ganga
Yes.
River. Okay. It's
Yes.
I might have heard that before, but I always like learning as well. So I appreciate you teaching me that. Okay, so the Ganges
They
or the
also
Ganga
appreciate.
River.
Yes, I also appreciate your willingness to learn. So
Of course. All right. Thank you so much, Samiparno. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I appreciate you volunteering.
same to you, Adrian, and thank you very much for having me on the session.
You're very welcome. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Okay, everybody, that was Samiparno. Let's give him a thumbs up. That was really good. Ganges River, yes, of course, another legendary river in the world that many of us have learned about. So again, for those of you who are coming up and volunteering and of course listening to the instructions and your peers, keep in mind the 2 learning points that we've covered from Phuong and from Samiparno. So 2 tips here. So tip 1, give it a personal touch. Okay. Many of us, when we talk about these bodies of water, we definitely have participated in the economy of these bodies of water. I, for example, have actually whitewater rafted the Great Fraser River here in British Columbia. So I have spent money on the tourism there, and I have fished the salmon of the Fraser River as well. So I've participated in that ecotourism and commerce as well. So give it a personal touch. This helps to increase scores, okay? Okay, so I have participated in the economy of, okay? Or I have seen firsthand the economy or the economic value of, okay? And then tip 2 is really focus. So remember what I said, that sometimes we get lucky and we get these questions where there's just a lot of content and they're relatively easier to talk about. So tip 2 is make sure to focus on the question. So focus on the details of the question, the economic impact. Yes, it asks you for a bit of history in the ancient times, but the focus is the economic impact here, clearly from the cue card. So those are 2 good tips that we've learned from Phuong and from Somi Parno. Okay. All right, everybody. Let's take another volunteer. Let's see who is here with us. Lorraine. Let me see. Anybody in the... There is somebody in the waiting room. Let me just let them in. There's one person in the waiting room. Norel Safa. Yes. Norel Safa. Welcome. Okay. Lorraine. Can you unmute yourself? Sorry, I think I just clicked the wrong button there. Lorraine, are you still there? There's Lorraine. Let me see. Lorraine, can you hear me? It looks like you're unmuted, but I cannot hear you, Lorraine, and I'm not sure why that is. Okay, you might want to check your Zoom settings there and what's going on. Okay. Let's take somebody else then. Let's take Miriam. Miriam.
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Miriam. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
All right. Any exciting plans for the weekend?
Not really. Just cramming for the IELTS, as usual.
As usual. When is your test?
It's on 27th January.
27th of January. Okay. All right. That's smart of you to really put a strong effort in the 2 months leading up to your exam. Miriam, what country are you in and which city, just to give this question a bit of context?
Okay. So I'm from Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
In Marrakesh.
Yep. In Marrakesh, Morocco. All right. Well, yes. I have an idea of a body of water that's important for your country for sure, but I would like to hear you answer this question, so I won't spoil the fun. Okay. Then
but this time I have a very poor connection with oceans. Even if I like seas, I had to search on the web for some information.
That's not a bad idea. So, it's good to explore knowledge in English before you're sitting your IELTS exam as well. And definitely knowing that part 2 is going to be about a place, person, object, event, or idea. With places before your IELTS exam, it's a good idea to do a little bit of research of places around your country and around your city. Because in IELTS speaking part 2, often when the question is a place, it has to do with places in your city and in and around your country. So getting a little bit familiar with an important body of water, an important landmark or building, an important park or natural place like a mountain, that's a really good idea, okay? Because there's chances that could come up for a question, okay?
Yeah, yes. Actually, Marrakesh is not a coastal city. It's far away from the ocean. Mm-hmm. But we usually go to the north to for the beach.
Now, of course, in this question, do pay attention, Marianne, because it's not saying talk about a body of water that's important for your city. It's saying talk about a body of water that's important for your country, right? So your focus here is not on Marrakesh, but on Morocco, right? So you have to really pay attention to that and focus on what you know and not what you don't know, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Let me start you off. So now we will begin part 2. Talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
The most important body of water in Morocco is the Mediterranean Ocean. that stretches over 500 kilometers from the northeast to the northwest of Morocco, and has been over centuries very important source of food as well as incomes for the population. Since ancient times, Mediterranean Sea has played a key role in the economy. The sea has provided thoroughfare for trade, colonization, and war, as well as seafood for pioneers. Nowadays, it contributes to 60% of the country's gross domestic product and provides jobs for thousands of Moroccans. Indeed, fisheries sector is one of the key sectors, particularly that it makes Morocco the main exporter of fishes to the European Union. Another sector which is important is the touristic aspect. The tourism generates billions of dirham. In July, I remember that back to July of last year, I went with my family to the national park of Hoceima in the north, and this is where I first experienced the economy of the Mediterranean Sea. Because I have seen thousands of tourists visiting the country, and this generates billions of dollars to the Moroccan economy.
Okay, I will stop you there. Your 2 minutes is up. Okay, first of all, you even get a little clap for me here, Mariam, and simply that's because I can tell that you listened to this lesson. You paid attention to the feedback I gave to Fuang. You paid attention to the feedback I gave to Somiparno. You put the two together and you delivered a very good speech focusing on the economy of the Mediterranean Sea for Morocco, and really nicely including a bit of that personal touch at the end about how you firsthand experienced the economy of the sea when you went and visited the coastal regions of your country. And that's brilliant. So that is the Band 9 structure. Okay, so with really nice fluency, really nice vocabulary, grammar accuracy, that's the exact structure and content that you want for this cue card to get a Band 9 score. Now, you didn't have perfect fluency, you didn't have perfect grammar and word choice every time, but your structure was outstanding. And because of that structure, it pulled those other aspects of your speaking to a higher place. Okay, so if you have poor structure, then you might only be scoring like a 6.5, but because you have that outstanding structure, you're scoring more of a 7.75 easily. Okay, and that's because it's very coherent, it's well put together, it's easy to listen to, it's very accurate in many contexts. Okay, so definitely a 7.75, I would say, no problem for that response. Good use of new vocabulary, like using thoroughfare, Miriam, and that's exactly what you want to do. So what you're doing is perfect. Just do lots of it before your end of January exam. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. Okay.
Nice sentence here. The most important body of water for Morocco is the Mediterranean Sea. It has been a very important source of food as well as income. We generally don't count income. It's strange, I know, but income is non-count. Okay. So as well as income for the population. Repeat this word after me. Pioneers.
Pioneers.
Yeah, the pronunciation there was a little bit off. Pioneers.
Pioneers.
Okay. And the aspects of your response, like you said, it's responsible for 60% of the country's gross domestic product.
Yes, that's true.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
That's
great language. That's if you know that, if you know that this body of water is responsible for more than half of the country's GDP, that's a point that you can even paraphrase and double up. So clearly, without the Mediterranean Sea providing more than half of the country's GDP, Morocco would be in serious financial economic crisis. right? So
Yes.
you can even kind of summarize on that note because it's such a major impact. You said the fisheries sector is one of the key industry sectors. When you're talking
Yes.
about fisheries or tourism, or you're talking about logging, like the trees, or tech, it's not sector is okay, but there's a better term that's used in academics for that. It's not fisheries sector, although that's not bad English. It's not great English either. What is the correct way to say that, Miriam? These big ones. It starts with an I. In the fisheries in
Industry?
That's right. Yeah, that's the more accurate way to describe it in this context. So the fishing industry. The fishing industry is one of Morocco's main industries. Do you know, by the way, how high it ranks? So is it the number 1, the number 2, the number 3 for Morocco, the fishing industry?
No, I have no idea about the rank. I have to search it.
What would you guess? Would you guess it's top 3?
Should be, should be, yeah.
So
Top-
you can
yeah.
say that, and I know because when I was in Europe, I saw that a lot of the fish products came out of Morocco. So so I would say something like, I would guess that the fishing industry in Morocco is one of the country's top 3 industries. Along with, I don't know what the other ones would be, but let's just say tourism. What would you say is another one for Morocco?
Yes,
So,
that's coastal tourism. Coastal tourism.
yeah. So fishing, tourism. What would be a third big industry in Morocco? And
So we are manufacturing good.
manufacturing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then I would finish this with 2 of these 3 rely almost solely on the Mediterranean Sea.
Okay.
So this would be a nice sentence here to express this concept. Okay, so just repeat this after me. I'm going to say it one more time. And of course, this is not just for Miriam. I'm sure many of us watching are along the Mediterranean Sea today or close to. So this is the sentence here, and everybody can practice it. Also, Miriam, of course, you can repeat nice and loud here. I would guess that the fishing industry in Morocco is one of the country's top 3 industries, along with tourism and manufacturing. 2 of these, fishing and tourism, rely almost solely on the Mediterranean Sea.
Sorry, sir. I lost you for the first part of the sentence. I didn't hear most of the sentence.
It's a long, complex sentence, so I will say it one more time. I would guess that the fishing industry in Morocco is one of the country's top 3 industries, along with tourism and manufacturing. 2 of these 3, namely the fishing and tourism, rely almost solely on the Mediterranean Sea.
I guess that fishing industry is one of the most is one of the third Morocco top 3 Morocco's industry, along with the manufacturing and tourism.
2 of these 3, namely coastal tourism and fishing, rely almost solely on the Mediterranean Sea.
All of these 3 rely almost
solely on the Mediterranean
solely
Sea.
In the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah, solely means like single-handedly. So it's the one and only place where these are found, right? Okay. So this kind of content, right? This is your band 9 language. So you had really good structure, really good content. You just want to work a bit now on the fluency and getting some good words in there to make it natural, make it academic expert. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your feedback.
Absolutely, Miriam. I think you did a great job. Thank you for sharing about the Mediterranean Sea. I figured that's what you were going to talk about, living in Morocco.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your weekend.
You too, sir. Thank you very much.
Bye for now. Okay, everybody, give Miriam a thumbs up. She deserves it. That was really good. Okay. I'm going to give Miriam a thumbs up here. Boom. There, Miriam. You get my little Zoom emoji. Everybody, we're using Zoom here. There is somebody in the waiting room I can see. Let me just, it's Lorraine. Lorraine had to reconnect, I think. All right, Lorraine, you're back in there. All right. We've got thumbs up from Mal, which is great. Mustafa, you have been patiently waiting. Okay.
Yep. Good evening, all.
Hi, Mustafa. Good evening to you as well. I appreciate your patience. I saw that you had your hand raised all the way from the beginning. Mustafa, where are you right now? Can you tell us a little bit about the country and why you're taking the IELTS?
Okay. I'm from Azerbaijan. I live in the capital city of Baku. I pursued to get IELTS for some study purpose. I want to study abroad. That's why I want to plan to take IELTS.
All right, sounds good, Mustafa. So Azerbaijan, Baku. I cannot guess what river or lake you will talk about. I have some ideas of some of the bigger bodies of water around your area, but I don't know which one you're going to choose because you have a few, I believe. But all right, well, I'll start you off and you give me the answer. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, so talk about a river, lake, sea, or ocean that is important for your country's economy. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Okay, I will mention about the Kur River. It's located in some Caucasian mountains. Its delta is around the Turkey mountains, which is in Arda. It's not only the longest one in Caucasian region, but also it's the cleanest body water in that region. If we touch some economical points, I would mention that the fishing. I think that in the fishing sector in the Caucasian, we are in the top 3 country. I think there are some other manufacturers that it's ongoing the progress, and the one of them is tourism. Not to mention that I am my hometown is along the Kur River, going through my hometown. That's why I am familiar with some facilities here. Not to mention it's big facilities here, the tourism, as I mentioned before. We are getting some tourists all around the world. Also, it's a boundary river. It's a boundary river with Armenia and Turkey. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, I'll stop you there. And we'll continue to part 3. Okay, not bad at all, Mustafa. The is it Kuri or Kurd?
Yeah,
river?
yeah. The most European called it the Kura because it's the same name in the Central Asia. But in Azerbaijan we call it the Kur.
The Kur River.
Yeah.
Kur River. Yeah. So I would say that. So I would say, okay, we'll mention about the Kur River, known among many Europeans as the Kura River. And it is located in the Caucasus. It's not Caucasian. Caucasus. How do you spell that? It's like Caucasus, like that, I think. Caucasus Mountain. Caucasus. Yeah, I think like that. Okay. Mountains. Okay, so you did a good job describing. You had some good elements. I would safely say that it's about a band 6.5. Mustafa, your response there? Okay. So it's somewhere between fluent and good. There were some simple sentences, some awkward phrasing. You want to reach for more complicated sentences, Mustafa. Okay, so when you're describing, then include more complex forms, better joined ideas. It felt to me like at times you were kind of piecing together what you were saying. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, I felt it. I think I have some fossil side errors in my language because I learned English with some speaking break. I learned it in university, some lectures. I think, yeah, I can make it better.
Yeah, so more fluent, more connected. Sometimes it felt like they were just kind of separate pieces that you were really trying to stick together. And because of that, it was a little bit hard to follow at times. So you want to pay attention to that. Now, as far as the economic impact of the river, it sounded to me like you focused mostly on tourism. Am I correct to make that assumption?
Yeah, fishing and tourism, yeah.
Fishing and tourism. Okay. Now, if you're focusing, right, because when you have something like the Nile, for example, it's relatively easy because it's just a massive river and there's agriculture and giant cargo ships that traverse and go up and down the river. With mountain rivers, like the Fraser River in my part of the world, it's a little bit different, and definitely fishing is one of the bigger ones. Now, fishing can be divided into two categories usually. Do you know what those are? So the fishing industry is often separated into two categories. One is commercial fishing. Okay, do you know what that means, Mustafa? Commercial fishing?
Yeah, commercial fishing I know, but I think it's not commercial in my country.
Right. So commercial fishing is when you've got the big boats, you're pulling up tons of fish and you're putting them into cans and packages and sending them around the world as a major food source, right? So commercial fishing is big industry fishing to feed millions, right? What's the other one, Mustafa? So what's the other type of fishing industry? So commercial fishing is one. The other one is called?
No clue.
No, fair enough, Mustafa. That's a good answer sometimes. It's okay to try to guess, but hey, if you don't know, you don't know. It's called sport fishing. Okay, so it's the type of fishing that we do for fun, right? Where we go and we got our fishing rod and we're waiting for that big catch of the day and we're doing sport fishing. Now, it's not to be undermined. Of course, it's not like commercial fishing and it might not be billions of dollars, but certainly in some parts of the world, like in my part of the world, it's, I would say, several hundred million a year easily, if not more. So sport fishing is expensive. People love doing it and lots of people do it, right? So sport fishing is definitely a money generator for certain regions, especially if you're locally there. Is your family involved in the sports fishing industry in some way, Mustafa?
Yeah, as I said before, my hometown is located in some bank of the river. That's why the most weekend we was here.
Yeah, so you're doing some sport fishing, right? Exactly. Okay, so sport fishing is definitely a good piece of vocabulary for you to know. Now, if I'm talking to you about sport fishing, so I could tell you a very similar story as what you told me about the Kurd River. I could tell you about the Fraser or the Thompson River in my part of the world. And if I'm telling you that the Fraser River is visited by tens of thousands of tourists internationally for sport fishing, especially fly fishing, every year. What would you be curious about? There's one piece that I'm really curious about with your river, as a person who enjoys the odd sport fishing adventure. What would you be curious about if I was telling you about the sport fishing in the Fraser?
I couldn't catch your question.
So what would you want to know if I would say to you, hey, Mustafa, come to Canada, come to the Fraser River, let's do some sport fishing. What would you ask me?
I asking for some government permit, actually.
Okay,
Or,
so government permit.
Yeah,
Sure.
hunting season.
Sure, but what would you want to know before you came sport fishing with me on the Fraser? What would you want to know?
Yeah, I just forgot its name. Tail, but I forgot just its name. Object to catch the fish.
Yes, but you'd yeah, exact. Fuang is answering in the chat, and she's realizing what I'm thinking of here. You'd probably want to know what kind of fish you're going to catch, right? You'd be like, what are we catching, right? What's going to be on my hook? What kind of fish are we going for? Do you know what kind of fish are common here in my part of the world? In West Coast Canada? Any idea?
No, I'm not familiar with the type of the fish. Sorry.
Salmon. The salmon are. We have lots of kinds of salmon coming out of the rivers, and trout, steelhead. Okay, so steelhead, salmon. How about the Kurd River? What's the common fish there? What are people usually catching in the Kurd River?
Actually, it's not popular in the world class, but in Azerbaijan we call it sazan.
Sazam.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a pretty big fish?
Not too big. It is okay to cook quickly.
Is it delicious?
Actually, I don't like the eating fish, but my family like it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with that. So okay, very honest. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you a sentence and I'll get you to repeat after me, all right? So although the Kur River is not known for commercial fishing, it's used for sport fishing. It does generate millions of dollars, and the most common fish caught is sazam, which is considered quite tasty by many. Can you try that? It doesn't have to be the same words, just a similar idea.
Actually, I couldn't catch where you start. I know.
One more time. One more time.
Watching the stream.
Yeah, one more time. Follow with me. Really open up the ears, okay? So, although the Kur River is not used for commercial fishing, it does generate millions of dollars in sport fishing. The most common fish caught is sazam, and many consider it quite delicious.
Okay. Also, the cure is not using for the commercial purpose, but also it's using for the sports facilities, and here the government gets millions of dollars. I just a bit adjusted. Sorry for that.
That's okay. The most common fish is sazam, which is considered quite delicious by many.
Yeah, the most common fish is sazan, which is considered delicious by many individuals.
Mm-hmm. And then you can even spin it from there and say, and it's served in restaurants, which generates more revenue, right? So, so you're always going back to that economy, all right? It's those details. So if you have one industry in mind, like fishing, you really need to get into those details and that vocabulary for the higher scores, okay? Is that clear?
Okay, thanks for your feedback.
Okay, Mustafa, good job. Really focus on grammar, okay, grammar accuracy and complexity, okay? So you have some good English, you have some good ideas. Practice creating fluent, connected, complex sentences with accurate grammar, okay? That should be your focus in your studies, both writing and speaking, okay?
Okay, may I ask the short one more point?
Sure.
Actually, I am traveling to decrease my tone to closing my end of the speech.
Mm-hmm.
How can I improve it? What do you think about it?
Well, first of all, I don't think you have any issue with it. So when I'm talking to you, it's called your deflection. The way that you carry your tone down is your deflection. I think you deflect your tone naturally. So I don't think you have to worry about that too much. I think it's more the connectivity or the fluency of your ideas and phrases that need to improve a little bit. Okay? I think you're doing just fine with your deflections.
Okay, got you.
Okay, all right. Okay, Mustafa, thank you so much for volunteering. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks.
Bye for now, Mustafa. All right, that was Mustafa. Let's give Mustafa a thumbs up. He did a great job. A little bit more unique, right? The Kerr River. So as soon as you start to get into more unique bodies of water, of course, it's a big river as well, it does become a little bit more challenging. So you have to be able to speak in more depth about that topic. Okay, students, I'm ending this Zoom session. We're going to resume our Zoom session in the next class. Back to YouTube here, everybody. We've got speaking part 3 coming up in 25 minutes. Until then, check out our websites that power these live classes, aehelp.com, gieltshelp.com. You can find all of our materials, videos, practice exams. Here we have the course open in our academic talking about a person. The homepage looks like this. And to join the premium IELTS package, you just click that big red button. It's a one-time payment. It helps to support us, which in turn helps to support you with lots of great materials, videos, and these live classes. So make sure to join there. General IELTS, it's gieltshelp.com. It's the green background. Academic, it's the blue background. If you didn't have a chance to speak in this Zoom session, don't worry. Come back. I will look for different volunteers in the next speaking class in 24 minutes now. And again, until then, peruse the websites, learn to talk about different topics effectively. I'll be back shortly. Until then, have a good little rest, stretch those legs, grab a glass of water. That's kind of what I'm going to do. And then we'll be back for more English shortly. I'm Adrian, signing out from West Coast Canada for now. Back soon. Bye.